You're up here today. We're going to have a wonderful service. We've got a guest speaker today and all fun songs. Let's stand up and we'll open up the service with our song of the month, which is Let Go and Let God. And so glad you're here, guys. So take care of me. Just good partnership. Some days I do, some days I don't, some days I will, some days I won't. Some days I sleep, some days I float.
go. I hear my microphone's on, so it's a good time to start. Just a reminder, if you're here for the first time, you do have a visitor's packet, and in it there's a card with some address information, especially if you'd like to get our newsletter. I think there's also a sign-up sheet out there for your newsletter too. So, a couple of ways to get a hold of us. I want to give a shout out, thank you to Jerry for stepping in as our AV person.
Yay, Jerry!
And this is, quote, his first time solo. So I'm so pleased that he was able to step in and help us when David, our regular person, has to work. His job calls him out every now and then. We're glad to have another person with a little bit of training. Some of the rest of us have a little bit of training here, a little bit of training there. Well, I'm talking too much. But besides Jerry, there's Amy and Barry. And I guess helping Jerry, we have Dean and Debbie Basic along there. And I'm Cliff, and I'll be your worship leader today. And probably talk too much like I always like to. Anyway, let us turn to our service, and we're ready to say our opening statement. There is only one presence and one power in my life and the universe, God. I had to go to 3 candles this morning to find the right one for the Christ candle. The other 2 just would not put up with me. But it's important, even if they're laying over and not shining, our Godness, our Christness is still in there. We can make it shine a little brighter or not. We're in charge of that. What was the scripture saying? Don't hide it under a bushel. Anyway, that's my sermon for today. So let's turn to our vision statement. Centered in God,
we inspire spiritual transformation, creating a world of love, peace, and prosperity. We are an inclusive spiritual community, inspiring, awakening, and serving in love.
We want to take a moment to remind ourselves that not only do we have children back home somewhere or with their parents somewhere or whatever it is, grandparents, but your big children or with their children or whatever it is. But there's a child within. And every now and then we need to let that child express itself. I am probably a notorious one for not doing that. So be like, not like me. Anyway, let the child shine out, and let us celebrate the children that we are and that we are created with. Let us say, we
love you, we bless you, we behold the Christ in you. We accept you just the way you are. Walk in beauty, you are divine.
So we're going to stand and sing another song. It's one we haven't done before, but there's a little intro that I'm just going to sing because, you know, it's a little complicated. But then we're going to sing the chorus a bunch of times. It's amazing. And y'all are going to join in. I'll tell you when. Years I've been talking about how I wanted to change the world, but I always left it up to someone else to do. Then I finally realized I needed to take a stand, and that by changing my sing this chorus over. So let there be peace. I am a stand for peace. Let there be love. I am a stand for love. Let there be joy. I am a stand for joy. We are making a new world now. Let there be peace. I am a stand for peace. Let there be love. I am a stand for love. Let there be joy. I am a stand for joy. We are making a new world now. Change this because let there be peace. I am a stand for peace. Let there be love. I am a stand for love. Let there be joy. I am a stand for joy. We are making a new world now. Let there be peace. I am a stand for peace. Let there be love. I am a stand for love. Let there be joy. I am a stand for joy. We are making a new world now. Let there be peace. I am a stand for peace. Let there be love. I am a stand for love. Let there be joy. I am a stand for joy. We are making a new world now. We are making a new world now. We are making a new world now. Y'all have a seat, please.
Okay. Well, I have the second here. We are looking at the meaning of the Lord's Prayer, and eventually we're going to do a workshop with it. But in the meantime, we're saying our regular version that we have been saying for I don't know how long. And we will be saying, well, sometimes they're paraphrased and they're very close, and sometimes they're paraphrased and they're not very close. But we're doing a little experiment. So in between the regular Lord's Prayer, there's a pause. It tells you a little bit about who did Lord's Prayer, the paraphrase, the pause.
I am a timeless, ageless expression of spirit. May Rowland, former director of the Silent Unity Prayer Ministry, once said, "Let us forget the idea of growing old and commence to really live." We should not let inactive ideas clog the mind, but let new, creative, life-giving ideas express themselves in and through us. My vision for life is ageless, as are my dreams. I spend quiet time in prayer, opening my mind to fresh ideas. I give thanks for each new way to express creatively. I have the confidence to try new activities and boldly plan my future. As I reflect on my dreams, I know I have the infinite power of spirit within to guide me. I step out in faith with a youthful exuberance and an unflagging energy. And now from John 11:26. And everyone who lives and believes in me will never die. Do you believe this?
Thank you, Debbie. Now, prepare yourself by going to your spirit center, taking relaxing breaths to help you. And now let us say the Lord's Prayer.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen.
Let us continue the prayer.
Creator God, Redeemer and Sustainer of all that is, may your reality be honored by us and by all creation. May your will be done on earth as it is in your eternal realm. Give us the food we need for our sustenance today. Forgive our sins as we forgive those who sin against us. And save us from times of trial and deliver us from evil. For the glory and the power of the eternal realm are yours forever. Amen.
I'd like for you to get centered and relax. Be in a place of peace and joy. Take a few deep breaths. Feel in your body where your heart pumps its blood, where it also pumps its energy out into the world and throughout your whole body. Feel the love that comes from that space. Center yourself and relax in the love of God. Know that God surrounds you all the time and is inside of you all the time. Know that your heart reaches out to others who are also surrounded by God. Know who you are. Be that in all its beauty and all its glory. Sit for a moment more in that space. Listen. Listen to the Word of God as it comes to you, and bring that into the current space as you sit down, sitting where you are. Bring it there. Know that is meant for you. Creator, make the words that I say today those that are meant to be heard, those that are meant to be said. Please make me a hollow bone for your love, your energy, and your healing voice. In all that is going on, let us all remember that we're doing the best we can. As we come back into the room, bring that energy with you to know that it's part of you, and let it outstretch from you into the room, into your environment, into your town, into your life in every way. welcome back. Thank you. First, I'd like to thank you all for bringing me here. I've been here a couple of times before with Debbie Happy Cohen when she spoke, and she's at the back of the room. And I brought my fans. But I just want to thank you for reaching out and saying that I might have something that you might be interested in hearing. My talk is about resilience, courage, and laughter, creating a life of joy and love and abundance. And I think that what I would really like to start with is just saying how grateful I am for the 4 women who came with me in my car, who spoke to me about things, not just to me, they spoke to each other, but what I got from that was the resilience of all of us. Every one of us have come from places that may have been painful. We walked through life in all of our different varied ways, but we survived. We've gotten here. All of you have survived. You've gotten off of a bicycle by falling off a bicycle and you got back on it. The thing that I got from that was my talk has been smashed to pieces and I'm going somewhere else with it. So, resilience to me, it means that you come back from something that was hard, something that you didn't expect. Even if you expected it, it may have been something that turned out a way that you didn't know it was going to turn out. And you got back up. It's kind of like watching a baby learn to walk. You know, they get up and they poof down back on the floor. They get back up again and they keep walking, they poof back down on the floor. So they're resilient, their bodies are resilient, but what really stands out is their spirit of resilience. Their spirit of getting back up and doing what might be hard, might be difficult, but they go ahead and do it anyway because they know there's a benefit. Somehow or other, they've learned that if they go to the other side of the room, Mama's going to give them a sucker. Or if they get up and walk a little ways, maybe they get a toy. Or if they get to go someplace that they've never been before. Sometimes it's with holding somebody else's hand, which I really want. Can you get a little bit? I want you to know that there's support for whatever you're going through. I know that in my experience, that's what's happened. So you're resilient, and I'm grateful for you in my life. I'm also grateful for Unity, who has brought me here to talk to you about resilience and courage. It does take a lot of courage, not from a baby, because they don't think about it so much. It's just an automatic, innate, I'm going to get back up kind of feeling. But for a lot of us, we get from that baby stage, we start walking and things start happening, and we don't like what happened sometimes. And sometimes our energy gets depleted, and we just kind of sit and we stay in that position. We stay in that sitting down, I don't want to go anywhere position. And that's kind of like what happened with a lot of people I've known, where we get into a place of what I call victimhood. Maybe some of you have been there. Maybe some of you have moved through that. What I'd like to say is that victimhood is a part of recovery to thriving. And thriving is where we're going with this. This is really a talk about faith. Because faith, as Martin Luther King said, is taking that step, not seeing the rest of the staircase. You just know that there's going to be another step there, so you take the next one. And so when you do that, you've moved from being a victim to, man, I want to get past this. I want to get past this, piece of garbage that I'm sitting in. If you bring old garbage with you, you're actually, if you can see me, you're stepping back to be with that garbage. So the impetus is to go forward, to relax into it. I came from a situation in my life where it wasn't so good. I should say it was extreme trauma. Many of you, some of you, may have had extreme trauma. So in my case, I split off, I compartmentalized little pieces of that trauma, just like you do. I'm going to give you an example. If you're going down the road, having a great time in your car, and all of a sudden you're in a hospital room, you don't know how your car turned into that ditch. You don't even remember going there. You don't remember where you were going. You just know that you woke up into the hospital. It takes you a while to get back those pieces of yourself, the pieces of memory that how you got into that ditch and how you ended up in the hospital. So that's kind of what happened with me. I compartmentalized a lot of things. All the traumas that we go through, we compartmentalize them. A lot of times we don't even know we've done that. They're just kind of hanging on to us somewhere in our body. So by compartmentalizing those things, so they got pretty, not rigid, I wouldn't call it rigid, they got pretty individualized. And they even had names. They had characteristics. So they were parts of me until I became one again. But they were parts of me, just like those little parts of your traumas have become parts of you. Only sometimes they hang on as disease, they hang on as arthritis, they hang on as nasty reactions to things. So when you go from that negative, or not negative, but that state of being a victim to, I really want to get out of this, I don't want to live like this the rest of my life, you're taking a step forward onto that staircase. And then when you get to the place of recognizing that it's just little compartmentalized things, you can deal with those little compartmentalized things. Because the next step you're going to take is going toward freedom. You know, you're going to have freedom. I want to tell you a little bit about how I got here, okay? I decided I didn't want to live like that anymore. Didn't want to live in the pain of having that past. And I didn't want to live in that story of the past. So what I did was I went to therapy. And they stuck me in the hospital. Said, oh, you got a problem here, and we don't know how to deal with you. So I went to a conference in Atlanta. And it was about extreme trauma, the results of extreme trauma, which included dissociative identity disorder and a lot of other things. And what they said to me, and all of us there, was, write your story, tell us how we can help you, because we have no idea. This was back in the 80s. We have no idea how to treat you. And of course at that time they were doing hallucinogenic drugs, and they were trying to make everybody do a drug so that they could get better, or at least keep them quiet. And I didn't want to be quiet, you know. I was like, no, I got to get this done. I don't want. So I go to my therapist and I said, how long is this going to take? And she looked at me and laughed, and she said, that's up to you. And you know what? It really is up to you. You have to make the choice to do the work that it takes. So I did. I made that choice. Started in my recovery back in '88 from extreme trauma. You don't have to have extreme trauma that's visible, that's this horrible story. It can be a very hidden trauma. It can be hidden, like a parent doesn't see you. You're her daughter, and yet she doesn't see you. She doesn't want to see you. Well, that's even worse. So there are a lot of things that go on in that, but I'm going to use myself as an example. So I went into recovery, I went to this conference, and there was a man there starting a conference in Massachusetts. And it was going to be about the same thing I was going through, was trying to recover from this horrible experience, right? So I went there. And the more I talked about it, each year, I went there 16 years. So the more I talked about it, and the more I got validation, because I wasn't the only one in the room. You know, I was the only one that was crazy. There were lots of us. So the more I talked about it and told my story, the more I was validated. Oh, I've done that. Oh, you did that too? Oh, I saw that. Oh, you know, so it was kind of like validating. And so I went from a person who was trying to convince people that it happened to a person like, I don't care if you believe me or not. I know my truth. I know that I was there. I know what happened. So at that conference, there was a fellow professor. He was a professor at Indiana University. And he decided that I was the most competent person with dissociative identity disorder, what we used to call multiple personalities, that he'd ever met. So he brought me to his classes to teach about, or to speak about my experience. And he was a professor in the criminal justice department, and he taught about alternative justice and was talking about not only the prison system, but what are the stories that people don't believe? How do you get a judge to believe that somebody's out there killing goats and doing seances and all that other stuff that comes along with rituals? Not necessarily my stuff, but a lot of things like that. So he was bringing in people like from the McMartin case, where there was in California where the kids were saying that they were abused, but nobody would believe them. And finally they saw that the caves and the tunnels were there, and they had to believe them. But he was trying to bring in people that could tell the story, and I did. And so I went from a class of 300 where you see, you know, freshmen, sophomores, and juniors up the, you know, they rose up from the floor on these big risers, and there were 300 of them. And then in the evening we had a seminar of seniors and graduate students who were both doctors and police officers and attorneys and judges. They had been in the system and they wanted to hear this. They had heard about this professor who had all these weird people coming in, and they were willing to hear it. So that also gave me validation. It gave me the strength to move forward. And so instead of staying in that victimhood of, poor me, I was abused, I walked forward. And I kept being pushed forward. I kept being pulled forward, so that I was able to go from in that position and bringing all that with me to moving forward into thriving. I started doing workshops and talks. I said I was speaking around the country about ritual abuse and so on. And when I realized that I had moved forward into that, I said to myself, if I can do it, anybody can do it. You know, if I can heal from this, then anybody can heal from things. You know, it's hard to say when a person comes back from war that they don't have their legs and they're supposed to feel okay. They're not going to feel okay. They're going to have what's called PTSD, and they're going to have a lot of resentment. They're going to have pain. They're going to have all kinds of things that they have to readjust to. But it's not just about war. There's everything from war to ad infinitum of things that you can experience in your life that will cause you to have that trauma. And the healing of it, as I said, takes your work. There's a woman called White Eagle Woman who is a native shaman, and she said that things don't take time. We think they do, but they don't. What they take is alignment. When things start waving and they go in alignment, everything starts working, everything starts moving, and you can get a bump in the road and things stop. You stop, ooh, I can't go any further. And then something comes along and that goes right back into alignment and you can move forward. So there's really no issue about time. You can't say, oh, it'll take you 2 months to get past this. Well, it could take 20 years, you know, but you don't have that preconceived idea of how long it's going to take to get through what you're going through. So the thriving part of it is, I borrowed other people's faith. I borrowed, if you thought I could do it, okay, I trust you, I can do it. That was trust, that I trusted that I could do it. And that person said, you can do it, I know you can. That cheerleader behind me was saying, you can do it. Okay, I went forward and I did more. I prayed about it. I had a connection with Spirit from a very young age, and so even though I went, that also evolved. It evolved like, why did you do this to me? You know, why did you put me in this family? To, oh, okay, all right. And now it's like, it's all here. There's an evolution that happens in all of our lives, whether it's spiritual, physical, mental, emotional. We evolve. Otherwise, we sit back there in our diapers and just pee on ourselves all day. You know, that's what you evolve into when you get old. No, I'm not old yet. Thank goodness. So, I think oldness is a state of mind, but that's a whole different conversation. And so when you go through that realization that these are pieces of you that can be resolved, then you can breathe into the freedom of being who you are, having the love in your life that you have around you, because people do love you and support you. It's a matter of when you're in the pain of it, you don't think of that. Like when you're depressed, it's hard to think about being other than depressed. You know, and you get pissed off at people saying, oh, this will pass. Boy, did I hear that. And boy, would I want to, you know, slap a few people. But I got over it. I got through it because I had that commitment to myself that I did not want to stay in that back here place. I wanted to be up here and keep moving forward. So the evolution came of me speaking to you because I came here with Debbie a few times and a few people asked me about it, and Debbie asked me if I'd be interested in speaking sometime, and I said, oh yeah, sure. And recently she contacted me. Well, things had changed in my life, not since then, but before that. I not only went from surviving into what I thought was thriving, because I was very happy, to the impetus to move forward into coaching, which is seeing other people get what I got. It's kind of like, I'm rubbing off on you now. Okay? So in the coaching arena, it's like seeing people awaken. And I feel such joy, I want to cry, because it's so awesome to see people get, oh, it's that easy? I don't have to feel that way? I don't have to hold on to that? We had a little conversation yesterday with someone who was thinking that if somebody gave her something, she had to give them something back. And that isn't the case. But what happened was a conversation about bringing old blah, 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 blah into the present. The present doesn't have that. The present is right now, and right now, and right now. See? There's no pain in the present. There's no issues from the past in the present, unless you choose to bring them with you. And they can get pretty heavy. You know, they can get pretty heavy and they can weigh you down. It's attitudes about your children, your spouses, your marriages. I say that because I had many. Your pets, your schools, your education, who you are. You start identifying yourself as something. But when you're in the present, all you are is you. You don't have PhDs hanging off of you, and you don't have, you know, children hanging on you. You have a present moment. So the reality is, when you have faith that you can move forward, and faith that changes will come, and that you will be healed, because you have to believe that you can be healed in order to heal. If you don't believe you can be healed, you won't be healed. You might be healed a little bit, like taking an Advil, you know. But the reality of it is, when you get to the place where you're totally healed, you have joy and you have love and abundance. I became in alignment, and I got love for the first time in my life. It's amazing. I'm 70, going on 71 years old next month, and I fell in love for the first time this year in my life. And I've been married 4 times, and I've had other relationships, but I never fell in love. So there's hope for y'all. So the reality is you can go forward. You don't have to take that forward with you. You can leave it behind you just like old garbage, cleaning off your feet to go forward. And yes, all right, here I am. So when I say resilience, we are all resilient because we are here. You have survived. You are here. But in order for you to thrive, you have to go there. You have to get moving forward and move forward into thriving. And let go of those things that hang on to you, that you're really wanting to hang on to, whether it's attitudes or physicalities or people. You can let go of them. I'm going to recommend to you a book. It's called Letting Go, Pathway to Surrender by David Hawkins. It is one of the best books I've ever read. And I use that in my coaching, because part of your work is to let go of those things that are like barnacles hanging on to you. And as I went through recovery, I started pulling them off and getting rid of them. I don't need that in my life anymore. So I have written 3 books, and they went from trying to convince people that it happened to you can do this. Okay? So I brought 2 of them here with me just to show you, but I would like for you to feel that you have that within you. You have that essence of life within you that brings you to a place of thriving rather than sitting still in your survival. You do not have to be there. You can go forward into thriving and abundance. Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, we're going to go ahead and stand and sing another song, Affirmation Rock by Cliff Ruben. Just have some fun and read songs today. So this song is I Am, You Are, We Are. It's the same thing all the way through.
Spiritual being. Again. I am a powerful creative spiritual being.
That's why we'll sing that twice.
I can create anything I want this life. I can create anything I want this life.
Next verse. things that you never ever knew. Have you ever heard the wolf cry to the blue corn moon, or asked the grinning bobcat why he grinned? Can you sing with all the voices of the mountains? Can you paint with all the colors of the wind? Can you paint with all the colors of the wind? Come run the hidden pine trails of the forest. Come taste the sun-sweet berries of the earth. Come roll in all the riches all around you. And for once, never wonder what it's worth. The rainstorms and the rivers are my brothers. The heron and the otter are my friends. And we are all connected to each other in a circle, in a hoop that never ends. Have you ever heard the wolf cry for the blue corn moon? Let the eagle tell you where he's been. Can you sing with all the voices of the mountains? Can you paint with all the colors of the wind? Can you paint with all the colors of the wind? How high does the sycamore grow? If you cut it down, then you'll never know, and you'll never hear the wolf cry to the blue corn moon. But whether we are white or copper skinned, we need to sing with all the voices of the mountain. We need to paint with all the colors of the wind. You can only earth and still all you'll own is earth until you can paint with all the colors of the wind. You can paint with all the colors of the Thank you all for attending. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all
offertory prayer and blessing. Fly.